Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Political Vigilante. My name is Graham Elwood. Oh, man. Thank you to everybody that came to the Super Chat Sunday on YouTube. We do that every Sunday at roughly 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern. Sorry. But if you follow me at Graham Elwood on Twitter, I announce when I'm going to go live, usually the day before and definitely the morning of. And also have some live tour dates coming up. I'm going to be in San Francisco October 10th, St. Louis October 11th, and the Zanies in St. Charles, Illinois, October 12th through 14. All my tour dates are at grahamelwood.com. Also, you can get my documentary, Earbuds, the Podcasting Documentary. So let's get into some news here. There was a shooting at Georgia Tech over the weekend. There was the leader of the LGBT on campus there at Georgia Tech was having some type of mental breakdown and was roughly 11:17 p.m. on Saturday was reported as he had a knife. And there's video that was taken from some people in an apartment kind of like right across the street. And I got the article from USA Today. I'll put the link in the YouTube show notes. And if you watch the video, you see the guy standing there. He's got a gun, and the cops are like, drop the knife, drop the knife. They're doing their jobs, and then the video sort of ends. But, and a lawyer for the family they're filing a civil suit because they feel like the officer overreacted. And you watch this video, and again, I can't sit there and claim that I know what it's like to be a cop there with somebody with a knife. But the question that was asked by the family and their lawyers, why wasn't non-lethal force used? Why didn't they use a stun gun? I get it. There's a guy who's acting out of it holding a knife. That's a danger. But your job as a cop should be to defuse this situation. Now, I've covered this story in the past, just in terms of like the city of Chicago or whatever, but this is how cops... This is another example of how this country doesn't want to deal with mental illness. This guy's clearly having a mental breakdown. And was he bipolar? Was he manic depressive? We don't know. The family might reveal this. Maybe they didn't know. Maybe the kid didn't know. Sometimes I've heard people that are bipolar say that doesn't really start to become noticeable or detectable until your late 20s. I don't know. I mean, like, I'm not a physician, but the point here is it's another example of just drop the knife, drop the knife. All right, he's not dropping the knife and he's coming at us. Boom, boom, boom. Like, we're just training cops to be bloodthirsty. And I can't begin to know how difficult it is to be a cop. I mean, that's got to be a difficult job. That's your job. Saturday night, your job is to deal with a guy with a knife. That's tough. But we're not, it just overall goes to the lack of sensitivity and compassion to anything. And I know someone watching says, so the cops are just supposed to let the knife guy stab him to death? Okay, thanks, hippie. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there's a bunch of other things between getting stabbed to death and shooting the person. There's a bunch of things in there, and cops are trained for this, I thought. They don't have a beanbag gun. They don't have a taser. They don't, they can't. One cop comes from behind and hits him in his knees with a nightstick, so he falls down, and then they get the guy down, get the knife out of his hand. It's like it's just like, tell him if the guy doesn't comply, start shooting. Like those seem to be the two responses, and I think cops have been doing this for years. They've been doing this for years. The difference is now there's video cameras everywhere. Everyone has a video camera in their pocket. So, and I'll go into some of the specifics here, but this Georgia Tech thing is just another example on why we need serious police reform. We need community policing. We need to address mental illness. We really address mental illness. I bet you the number of shootings would go way down. I bet you it would go way down. Just if we really addressed mental illness and looked at it as an illness. Like if someone's like, oh man, I'm not in my normal state of mind because I've been suffering from cancer and I'm taking chemo, people are, oh, you pussy, suck it up. Like, I think there's still that attitude that prevails a lot in America of, with certain things. I've had to deal personally with some repressed memories of abuse coming forward, and I had someone very close to me say, repressed memories aren't a thing. Said that to me. And just immediately denied it. And I was like, oh, wow. You know, just told like, no, repressed memories aren't a thing. I mean, there's a new movie coming out about J.D. Salinger, and it really addresses the fact that he had PTSD from fighting in World War II. He saw the horrors of war. Back then, World War II, you had shell shock, you had battle fatigue. I was at a wedding this past weekend and was talking to some family members about my uncle, these people's father and grandfather, who fought in World War II. And, you know, he told this horrifying story about war to us a couple years ago, and then said, wow, I'd never told anybody about that before. And he was like in his 80s. And one of my cousins revealed that he was in a hospital for like a year or so after the war, and he just had shell shock. They just call it shell shocked. And he was just like comatose. These guys come back from war and more comatose. So my point is everyone needs to be a little more, you know, I've had people tell me since, you know, about social anxiety, and I don't understand social anxiety. And it's just hard for me to understand because I'm an outgoing person and I'm a performer, and so I don't get it. But it would be really insensitive of me to just say, oh, social anxiety, just get out there and, you know, come on. Just be outgoing, be friendly, you know, like I don't know what that person is going through. So I think we need to, as a culture, become more sensitive to what people are dealing with. And then we need to instill that sensitivity into our police academies because this is really, really tough. The details here. Campus police killed 21-year-old Scott Schultz, who they say was advancing on officers with a knife. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation said Schultz refused to put down the knife and kept moving toward officers late Saturday outside a dormitory. Attorney Chris Stewart told the Atlantic Journal-Constitution he thinks Schultz was having a mental breakdown and didn't know what to do. During a Monday morning news conference, Schultz's parents questioned the tactics. They asked whether non-lethal means could have been used to deal with Schultz. Nothing specifically that tasers or mace noting specifically that tasers or mace were an option to subdue Schultz given the situation. Exactly. And, you know, the state is, they're going to, you know, we're doing an investigation. But come on, man. These cops will be acquitted. I mean, yeah, it's a white college kid, so there's a chance this guy might... but still, the blue wall, they'll say, oh, justifiable shooting. Someone was coming at me with a knife. I had to. And it's like, it's a knife. I understand if he has a loaded gun in his hand and he raises it up to shoot and the cops have to do, I understand that. This is a knife. This is a knife. And a cop's like, boy, I don't want to get stabbed. Yeah, I understand that. But if you don't want to get stabbed and shot at, then maybe don't become a police officer. Like you're signing up to protect and serve. You're signing up to put your lives on the line, and I can appreciate anybody wanting to put their lives on the line, but then get the right training. And we can rail against the actions of these individual officers all we want, and that's justified to do so, but overall, the system is broken. The way cops are trained in this country, the way they go out and execute, and the way we're dealing with mental illness is, we need to reform. We need police reform, and we need to really start talking about mental illness and address it and understand it. When somebody says, I'm having a problem with something, acknowledge it. Because the human brain is so complex. They're just now figuring stuff out. So, you know, Thanks for watching the show. Thanks for your support. I look forward to your guys' comments. Some of you have been open and shared and like about mental illness you suffered with in my documentary Earbuds, which the iTunes link is below. We had some people, some fans of the podcast come forward and talk openly about their mental illness and that helped open my eyes just as the filmmaker of that movie to see like, wow, I didn't realize it was like this. I don't know what somebody having chronic. I've been depressed, but I don't have clinical depression. It's not the same thing. I can obsess and, my brain is pretty active, but I don't have mania. I don't know what that's like. And I can't say that it's the same thing. And, so I hope we all are talking about this and addressing this and being open to this and trying to find more information and research. And if you are suffering from this or have somebody close to you that's suffering from this, sit down and listen, get more information for yourself so that you can try to understand what they're going through. And listen to them. Don't dismiss it. It's a bummer when somebody dismisses that. So, and go to the Patreon link below. There's so many ways to support the show, guys, and more subscriptions and more likes and positive reviews in iTunes. All that stuff's great. So thank you so much.